Hi class, welcome again to another session on biomaterials. So we have been discussing the hip joint replacement implants. So in the last video, we discussed how acrylic bone cement was used to fixate an implant in the bone, right? In order to stably fix the implant to the bone, how acrylic cement was used, polymer based cement was used. We also saw that this cement powder or this acrylic polymer powder was mixed with a monomer liquid, and it was formed and a dough was formed, and this dough was inserted along with the implant, and with this and ultimately this dough would polymerize inside the body and solidify and anchor the stem. So this was how this was discussed in the last video. So now there are certain advantages of using such bone cement. First and foremost advantage is that this bone cement is has got good viscoelastic property, therefore it is good with shock absorption. Now when you are when you are placing an implant in the body in a location such as the hip, obviously there is quite a lot of soft tissue damage occurring. So normal hip would the shock absorption in a normal hip is taken care by the soft tissue. Now after implantation, if the soft tissue is damaged, there's not much shock absorption occurring, right? So in that case, this additional shock absorption provided by the bone cement is definitely a plus point of using using this. Another advantage of using the bone cement is that it assists in even distribution of the load and reduces the stress in the bone. So localized stress in the bone, and which can ultimately lead to microfractures, can be avoided if you use this bone cement. However, if there is an advantage of using this, there is definitely another disadvantage as well. First and foremost disadvantage is that the cement is wet while you are inserting it into the body. Obviously polymerization is going to occur at some point, but before the whole cement polymerizes, there are chances that the monomer might etch into the system. Now monomer vapors, if they enter the bloodstream or the systemic circulation, then that can affect your blood pressure. So that's one of the major disadvantages of using bone cement, acrylic based bone cement. Another major disadvantage is that polymerization process through which the bone cement anchors the implant is an exothermic reaction, that is, it releases heat, and this heat is dissipated into the neighboring tissues and cells, which can lead to cell damage or cell necrosis, right? So these are major disadvantages. Another disadvantage of using bone cement is that the stress on the bone in the distal stem is much higher than the stress in the proximal stem when it is inserted into using bone cement. So now this difference in stress leads to more reabsorption, and which can ultimately result in loosening of the stem, right? So loosening of the implant and or fracture of the implant. Now in order to overcome this disadvantage, the implant design was modified such that the neck was kept slightly longer. However, if you increase the neck length, then the mid stem, that is the portion that covers the implant that gets inserted, the tail part of the stem to the head, the middle section, if that is elongated, then that can lead to the fracture of the middle part of the implant. We shall see in a minute what I mean by that. And then okay, let us just see the figure first, and you'd probably understand this better if I show you the diagrams. So if you see this figure in your far left, these were the primitive implants, like you have the acetabulum cup designs, and then these were how these were used to fixate fractures. Now one of the major disadvantage of using these kind of designs was that surgical implantation was a very complicated procedure. Also, if the implant fails, then taking the implant out of the insertion site, is also a very complicated procedure. Therefore, it was just not viable at that point. However, this was the best possible option at that period of time, and therefore it was accepted. But as medicine and biomedical engineering progressed, we've come up with better designs that can be implanted much more easily when compared to the older implants. and which withstand more stress, and the chances of implant failure has been reduced slightly. So here if you see this portion of the implant, like this is the head of the implant, this is the stem of the implant, then this section is the mid stem. So if this section is really long, then fracture occurs here and the implant breaks. Therefore, and this section here would result in uneven stress distribution, which would result in reabsorption of the bone cement, and ultimately loosening of the implant. Now here the last one is where the implant is slightly straighter. Here if you see, the angle of curvature is much more when compared to the angle of curvature in this implant, the dotted lines. So this design was found out to be the most stable and most successful hip implant design as on date. So let us move on to the next slide. So another aspect, like implant failures, stress is not the only factor that results in implant failure. The quality of the material that you're using can also result in implant failure. For example, the cup and the acetabular cup and the ball both come in contact with each other, and the friction between the two can result in rotational torque, and this friction can also result in wear of the implant. Suppose the head of the material is made with cobalt chromium alloys and the cup is also made with metal, so there's quite a lot of rubbing that will go over the there's quite a lot of wear that will occur in the head, and ultimately cobalt is going to leach inside the bloodstream. So cobalt, as we all know, is very toxic when it is used alone. Like pure cobalt is quite toxic. So if that leaches into the bloodstream, then that can lead to toxicity and ultimately death, right? So instead of having an all metal system, people have come up with a stainless steel polyethylene setup, or a cobalt chromium alloy and polyethylene combination. So the acetabular cup is usually made up of polyethylene and the head is made up of stainless steel or cobalt chromium alloy. So that would result in less friction, and it wouldn't the head wouldn't wear off that easily. So this was a solution that in order to prevent leaching of the material and wearing of the head, right? Now implant loosening is obviously a big reason for implant failure, and the primary reason for loosening are either the surgical technique that is used or the cement that is used, right? Cementing technique if it is not proper, or the surgical technique if that is not proper, then that can lead to loosening of the implant. Studies have also suggested that the formation of thrombus around during the surgery, it can also lead to loosening of implant, and shrinkage of cement while polymerization would also loosen the implant. So these are the 4 major reasons why an implant gets loosened. I hope you had a fruitful session learning about hip replacement implants with me. I shall see you again in another video where we shall discuss the knee replacement implants. I hope you take care till then.